All right, Prakash asked, can you talk about your experience taking the data function to a P&L function? Most data teams struggle with still having a cost center vibe. And as someone who managed a P&L division, it will help many position their roles differently within their companies. Now, what I'll do in this video is I'll do two things. Number one, I know many data people are interested in what it takes to eventually end up owning a P&L. And so I'll talk briefly to that. And then secondly, I want to dig in on that cost center comment and how a data leader, whether they own a P&L or not, can position themselves and their data organizations to be aligned to that sort of real tangible results from a economic value perspective inside their companies. Okay, so if you're a data leader and you want P&L experience, there are a couple of ways to do it. I think the top three are the following. Number one, start a revenue generating data product inside your data team. And that's one way that you can make a strong case that as a data leader, you are uniquely positioned to want to own the P&L of this new business. It's kind of how I ended up owning a P&L. It's because I was a data person, but I was overseeing a data product. If it was a non-data product, I probably wouldn't be in contention to own the P&L of that business. And so the good news for that, for many data leaders, is that actually many businesses are interested in commercializing their data. And so if you've got data that can be commercialized, then you have a reasonable case to make around being allowed to own the P&L of that product as it launches, right? Okay, so that's way number one. Number two is to find a small P&L that nobody else really cares about and make a pitch for trying to have it under you. And this is what I would do if I was in more of a traditional business, because, and this is very company dependent, only at a certain size of the kind of like multinational conglomerate type of companies are you able to do this. If you're at a small tiny company, you're not gonna, there's oftentimes not gonna there's just not gonna be an opportunity to do this. But if you're at a really big company and you have a senior data leadership role, you should have good relationships with the other executives in that company. And the way that you can do this is essentially setting it. If you're doing a great job as a data leader and everybody's very happy with you, if this is a career development opportunity that you're interested in, oftentimes there's like a small division that floats around between different people. Nobody really cares about it. And if you're friendly with all of the executives, you can make the pitch to ask for P&L ownership of that because you're interested in that from a development perspective. And it's not uncommon at all for people to do sort of posts in different organizations. I mean, there's like a category of academy companies where the idea is that you get great training as an executive. As you go up the ranks, you get exposed to a whole bunch of different situations over the course of your career as part of your leadership growth. And it's totally normal that people take stretch assignments or take opportunities that aren't only in their core wheelhouse inside of a company like that. There are lots of opportunities floating around. And if you find a small enough one and you're doing a great job and people really like you, you can oftentimes figure out a way to get yourself in. And then the third way to own a P&L is to go to a consulting company and own a book of business. And in that case, you're just going to be on the hook for a P&L. You're going to be selling and bringing in revenue, and you're going to be delivering on that. And that is probably the easiest way to do it if you're not in a political situation to be able to do the other two. it does mean that you will not oftentimes be able to take advantage of a lot of the infrastructure of the business, like selling and distribution. And, you might need to do a lot of sales work, but like everything in life, that's the trade-off. You get this stamp of P&L ownership. You also have that sales responsibility. So that's those are the best ways that I would say that I've seen data leaders end up in some sort of P&L ownership role. I want to also dig into this sort of cost center comment, because I have probably a different point of view than many here, or than many in the data community. Even though I see data as revenue generating and crucial for the business, I also see it as a support function. So not a cost center, but a support function. And those are two very different things. So a cost center would be something like accounts payable, because in accounts payable, there's a very specific thing that needs to get executed correctly, but there's no differentiation and there's no competitive advantage that a company is going to get due to its spectacular accounts payable department. And this is not to diminish the people that work in accounts payable. It's a crucial job, and the people who are good at it are good and important to have in the organization. But in the market, that's not gonna change the trajectory of the company. Whereas data, theoretically, as a support function, because of the work that you're doing, you can help significantly change the direction and the trajectory of the company. I'd actually consider it similar to HR in a certain sense, because every business, the most important thing in any business is its talent, right? The most important thing in any data organization is its talent. And so having an amazing HR department that gets the best people in the world to work at your company, or some amazing people to work at your company, that's going to have a massive advantage to you in the market, to the point that it's worth investing in, right? Same thing with data. With data, the ability for your business units to make better decisions, the ability for your product team to provide differentiated offerings to the market, that is a competitive advantage that can make a huge difference in the market. And that's why it's worth investing in. But so the thing, when people think that data is a cost center, when people start to look at the data team and wonder why we're spending so much, it's actually not a judgment on the absolute amount of spending for the data organization. It's a judge, because you could have different companies in the same industry where one company is spending double and they're thrilled about it and wish they could spend more, and another company is spending half and think, why are we even doing this in the first place? And it's all because of the value that they're seeing out of it. If data is a support function, the question is, how supported does the business feel? And if the business feels very supported, then they're not going to see data as a cost center. They're going to see data as a differentiator that helps them do their jobs and make an impact in the market. Whereas on the opposite side, if they're not personally seeing the impact of data, then they're going to view it as a cost center, because it's just not supporting them. It's not achieving the goal of being a support function. So that is my experience of taking data to a P&L function, as well as what you can do if you're seen as a cost center. The answer is figure out how to provide more value to the leaders in the company. And hope that was helpful. Thanks, Prakash.